Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Moving right along to my Price of Business contributor, Jim Talerico, and he's an extraordinary business consultant doing great things for companies of all sizes. And Jim, always delighted to have you on the program. Kind of give us your elevator speech and how people can learn more about you before you introduce your guest today. And as always, welcome.
Okay, great. Super to be back, Kevin. My company is called Greater Prairie Business Consulting. We're located in Dallas. It's a national practice. Our focus is on helping companies maximize their potential. And probably the easiest way to reach me would either be through my LinkedIn profile, James J. Talerico Jr. Kevin's pointed out I have over 28,000 LinkedIn followers. Or on Kevin's website. In addition to helping companies, I have a lot of strategic relationships, and my go-to guy for financing is Bud Callahan. So I have Bud back. Last time we talked about the financing business, some of the challenges of doing financing today with the banks. And Bud is definitely somebody that your listeners want to pay close attention to. Bud has over 30 years' experience in the business. He's a certified leasing professional. There's only 200 such people in the world. Bud is the past president of the National Equipment Leasing Association, and he's currently also the director of education for that organization. And so, Bud, I'd like you to just talk a little bit about your company. And primarily what Bud would like to talk about today is the concept of coordinated lending. So with that, Bud?
Hello.
Bud, why don't we start real quick by refreshing our audience memory about what exactly your company does. Give us a quick overview, if you will.
Okay. Well, our primary focus is equipment leasing and financing. So we provide equipment leasing and financing really for any size business. But we have a special emphasis on small business, although some of our customers are Fortune 500 companies as well. But we are a broker, which means that we do have multiple funding sources, which allows us to move up and down the credit scale, and also transaction size and matching transactions to funding sources that will accept them. So we can do things from software to, doesn't matter what it is, really. It's more credit driven.
Very good. Go ahead there, Jim.
Okay, Bud, let's talk a little bit about coordinated lending and some of the things you're doing to help people who are having problems with the traditional lending sources.
Okay. Well, what happens oftentimes is that, especially in small to medium-sized businesses, you see a situation where they need a piece of equipment, they do it, they need a line of credit, so they go to their bank, they get a line of credit, but none of that is coordinated. It's what I call Band-Aid financing. So you patch a Band-Aid here, you patch a Band-Aid there, and when you step back and look at it, you have a bunch of Band-Aids, and you have to look at it and say, how cost-effective is it actually? So what we do is, when we see a situation like that, is to talk to the customer and point out to them that there's probably a better way to do it, which would be a combination of taking all of their financing, which would be land and buildings, accounts receivable, inventory financing, equipment, and putting it all together into one package, and allowing the accounts receivable to be a variable line. In other words, if you write a check, you increase the line. If you make a deposit, you reduce the line, but the objective is you never borrow day-to-day any more money than you need.
Yeah, interesting. Let me ask you real quickly, kind of give us an overview. Are there specific industries that work well with your company over others, specific size companies? Talk a little bit about the profile, the type of businesses you work with.
Well, I would say this would really work for any company. If you have a company that might possibly be a proprietorship, it might not work too well. But generally, companies that maybe have $1 million or more in sales a year probably would qualify for this quite nicely.
So relatively small.
Yeah, it doesn't take a big company to take advantage of of a more coordinated approach to financing. And the good news is you don't borrow any more than you need. You know, that's really kind of the driving point to this.
Very good. Go ahead there, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, when we were speaking last time, Bud, we talked about one of the main challenges with the traditional lending sources or the banks today, where basically they're going to offer you some financing, but they're going to have you sign a personal guarantee and collateralize all your assets, which really tie you up for anything in the future. Can you talk about the diversity of lending sources you have and some of the advantages of going with a broker over the traditional banks today?
Right. Well, yes. That's a twofold question. One is if you have a small to medium-sized business and it's closely held, I'm talking one or two or three owners, you're not going to get around the personal guarantee. But let me speak a little bit about what personal guarantees mean and also some pitfalls to avoid. One would be quickly, and I'll try to move through this as quick as I can. On a personal guarantee, they can't touch your retirement accounts. That's the first thing. So if you sign a personal guarantee and the worst happens and the company fails and everybody's coming after you, and not just our lender, but I'm talking about everything involved, they cannot touch your IRAs or your 401k accounts. The second is they can't touch your house unless you get a home equity line of credit, and that's something I would really encourage everybody to avoid, because a home equity line of credit now opens up the house to be part of a bankruptcy proceedings, should things get that bad. So, to protect yourself, make sure you don't do a home equity line of credit. If you want to borrow funds on your house, make sure it's a second mortgage, not a line of credit. As far as personal guarantees, at least with our funding sources, it will not show up on your personal credit. So when they run your personal credit, this is not going to show. It's just a document in a file folder that means nothing unless the company fails. Banks have a tendency to take the second part of your question. A bank will always file a blanket UCC, which means that when they file this, it's like a title on a piece of titled equipment, except it's on non-titled equipment and it's filed with the Secretary of State in your state. And that gives basically the bank ownership of the entire company. And usually the way it reads is all accounts receivable, all inventories, all chattel paper, all equipment, all assets of the corporation. So if you do, for instance, a $50,000 loan with your bank, they now own everything that your company has. The downside is, if you go back and ask for more money to the bank, they'll say, what more can you give me than what we got? And the answer to the question is nothing, because they got everything already. The way we do it is when we do a loan or a lease for a piece of equipment, the UCC filing is on that specific piece of equipment only, and it leaves the rest of your assets free.
Bud, we're fixing to run out of time here shortly. Do you want to make sure we get your website in? Can you share that real quick?
Sure. It's www.nationalequipmentleasing.com.
Jim, with about 2 minutes left, not even that, about a minute left, your final thoughts.
Okay. There are a lot of business owners out there right now that think that they can't get the right financing package. Bud and I make a great team. We've been working together for a long time. Again, we come in, we can help companies look the best for lending sources. And there have been plenty of deals I've sent Bud where the banks wouldn't make an offer, but Bud was able to find a source for them. So I'd encourage any business owners who are looking either for financing that they haven't been able to get or for different options to consult with Bud and us, because there's a lot of better solutions out there than it appears.
Thanks so much to both of you gentlemen. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com, including this interview. I'm Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business.